Welcome to another episode. I am continuing the topic of understanding our root cause patterns because this is probably the most pivotal piece of information in really catalyzing women in getting really in control of their hormones, whether that be postpartum hormones, perimenopausal, postmenopausal, or anything in between. We have to really understand what our body is telling us about our symptoms. And so this week, I'm actually going to be talking about understanding our liver patterns, and then we'll talk about how to actually fix that. So a lot of women come to me initially, saying I've had breast tenderness, I've had really painful, heavy cramps. I've had endometriosis, I've had a hysterectomy, I've had menstrual migraines, extreme fatigue leading up to my cycle, or chronically low progesterone, and I just don't know what else to do. And when we begin really digging into what they've tried so far, which is a really important piece of information for me as a practitioner, as a clinician, is understanding what have they tried before, have those things helped, because it helps me to understand a little bit more about their physiology. But 9.9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, what women tell me is that, I went to my doctor and all that they would give me is a prescription for birth control. And I'm not going to get into the reasons why that's extra harmful, but birth control will absolutely not solve the problem. What it does do is it begins to forcefully cycle your hormones. And so it basically is tricking your body into or out of those symptoms. And that's a topic for a different episode. But what I want to talk about is what those symptoms actually mean and why birth control is not the answer to that. So when we are looking at painful periods, heavy cramping, menstrual migraines, prolonged periods, so any period that's longer than 5 days, endometriosis, or chronically low progesterone, what that tells us is that your liver is actually not metabolizing your hormones properly. There are 3 distinct pathways in the liver that have to be working optimally in order to fully metabolize estrogen metabolites, toxins, and get those methylation pathways working so that we are getting that, the excess estrogens, but also the xenoestrogens, which are the toxic estrogens that tend to come in our environment, get those moving out of the body. Now, when the liver is not doing its job, it causes a buildup in estrogen, and then that begins to manifest as symptoms. Essentially, the body is saying, hey, pay attention to me. There's something wrong here. We need to do something about it. Now, the tricky part is that most of us, especially those of us in our 30s and beyond, we were like the birth control generation. Birth control was prescribed for everything from acne to PCOS to heavy periods, and really no explanation as to why. Now, not only was it, birth control, but also pain medication. And the conversation, at least from what I'm hearing from women and also my own experience, was that, oh, this is just part of being a woman. There's nothing that you can do about it. You just have to put up with it until you go through menopause. When really what we should be looking at is, hey, these symptoms are actually telling me that something is not right in my body and we need to address this. And I cannot tell you, I have been doing workshops on the liver and how that plays a role in women's hormones for almost 4 years now. And this is still like new information for most people because their doctors just simply are not telling them about it.
Do you struggle with low energy in the morning, afternoon fatigue, and often find yourself grabbing another cup of coffee or soda just to get through the day? If that's you, then you may be doing more harm to your stress hormones, mood, and sleep than you think. While caffeine from coffee gives you a nice boost of energy initially, it depletes your adrenal glands of essential nutrients that are responsible for supporting healthy sleep and stress patterns. This is is why I recommend Rasa Adaptogenic Super Functional Tea. This robust blend of adaptogenic herbs not only gives you sustained energy, it nourishes your adrenal glands, your immune system, and supports lower cortisol, which leads to overall improvement in your nervous system health, balanced mood, and better sleep. This robust blend of herbs actually tastes like coffee, and it comes from the cacao plant, as well as all of those different adaptogenic herbs that are super delicious. You won't even miss your cup of coffee in the morning. Make sure to grab yours for 15% off at wearerasa.com using the code Abundant Wellness with Andrea.
So what I typically see when women first come to me is, they're, obviously in distress. They're frustrated. They don't know whether or not they can trust me, which is completely understandable. And so then we'll begin really going through what have you tried so far? And so typically that list includes birth control. It includes, whether that's a pill, hormone replacement therapy, an IUD of some form, or the actual pill itself. Which is, typically a biphasic or triphasic hormone that is being given to cycle the hormones, which then, of course, increases estrogen dominance because of how it impacts the liver's metabolism of different hormones. And then when those things have not worked, then they're like, screw this, I'm going to go and figure this out on my own. And so then they've tried tinctures, creams, detox diets, different liver cleanses. And so by the time they get to me, they have an awareness that the liver plays a role, but what nobody has taught them is actually, really how to work with those specific phases of liver detoxification in order to get them functioning optimally. And how we do this in the Hormone Wellness Academy, or, even if you're just working with me as a private client, we do this primarily through nutrition first. So we are focusing on what foods to add into our diet versus what things to take away. Most of us don't benefit long-term from doing crazy restrictive cleanses like coffee enemas or lemonade and cayenne pepper, parasite cleanses, etc. They do have their place. But for most of us, especially if we're working on a chronic problem, we want to make sure that we are supporting that through, our daily lifestyle habits, not just once every 3-month type of cleanse. And so how we do this is by working, one step at a time to clear out those 3 different phases of liver detoxification. And what we begin to see almost immediately, there may be a couple of days of like fatigue where women are saying like, gosh, I feel a little bit foggy. And then after that, it's like bowel movements begin to improve, which is a huge sign of how our hormones are doing. Our bowels need to be moving on a regular basis to be clearing out that excess estrogen. We notice an almost immediate, within the first week, improvement in energy. We notice an improvement in mood and sleep. And so those are all really good indicators that the liver is starting to decrease its toxin load, so that our hormones can now begin to balance themselves out. I'll just share with you a really quick case study of this, because here's the thing is that the information that most women are lacking is being able to make the connection between their symptoms, their physiologic symptoms, so like how often they're having bowel movements, how tired do they feel all month long, how's their energy in general, and their hormones. So they're looking at them, and I've been guilty of this too, they're looking at them as 2 separate things, when really the root causes of all illness and disease are, in the gut, the liver, and that gut-brain axis. Those will inevitably impact our hormones. So there's no way to separate our hormone health from our overall health, which is why, when I'm working with somebody, we're looking at the overall picture of their health. How does addressing these root causes in a systematic way actually bring them into a place of wellness overall that then begins to spill over into their hormones? And so we do this again in a very systematic and step-by-step way, which I'm actually going to be teaching you guys all about in the Love Your Liver workshop. So this is a workshop where I'm going to be going into much greater detail on what the liver actually does in the body, the role that it plays in your hormones. But I'm also going to be laying out that specific protocol for you step by step, so that you know exactly what to do, what to be focusing on, so that you can quit the guesswork, so that you can get off of that supplement merry-go-round of, of all of the different liver cleanses and tinctures and teas that may not actually be benefiting you. You don't want to miss this. This is a foundational protocol that I use with all of my clients that you are not going to want to miss. So if you go to www.abundantwellnesswithandrea.squarespace.com/love your liver, or you can just go ahead and scroll down into the show notes. You'll be able to click right on it and register. This is going to be an absolute game changer for your hormones. I hope that this helped you to identify some imbalanced patterns in yourself so that you know what to focus on, and stay tuned for our next episode.